All right, you guys. My name is Wasim. I am a finance student. I just graduated. I have zero debt. I have zero kids. I'm 23 years old, and I got my own apartment. So that's just a little introduction to myself. But I mean, still take what I say with a grain of salt. I'm definitely not perfect, and I'm not a financial advisor. But getting rich is not that difficult. I know I'm not there yet, so again, take what I say with a grain of salt. But if you follow these steps, the road to success and wealth will be so much easier, and you'll be surprised at how easy these 5 steps are. First, this is the hardest step. You want to set a solid foundation and a solid base for yourself. So what this means is get a degree in something that pays well. So do your research if you're still in high school or if you're at college age but you don't go to school yet. Do your research on which degrees are going to get you paid in 10, 20 years. Make sure the industry is still alive and thriving in the next couple of years, and make sure it's something that you actually see yourself doing. And during that process, you want to avoid student loans as much as possible. I know that's kind of difficult, especially with the price of college nowadays. But go to community college or go to trade school. You know, electricians are really rich as fuck. Plumbers, fucking construction workers, those guys really get money. And you know, the blue collar jobs are kind of overlooked and, you know, kind of low under the radar, but those are really jobs that get consistent paychecks because they do shit that other people don't really want to do. But you shouldn't let that stop you from really getting to your bag, right? So once you got a good degree under your belt, once you try to avoid loans as much as possible, or once you gain a skill or a degree, then the next step is to do normal jobs, like regular, easy to get jobs, even like fast food or retail. But on your resume, you want to make it sound as impressive as possible, right? I improved the speed at which we worked 20% year over year, right? I increased the customer happiness level from an 8 to a 10 on the NPS score, right? So you want to use like keywords that employers are actually looking for, and that's just an example, right? They want to make sure that you're motivated, that you can kind of speak the same language that these corporate people that they're looking for, right? So once you have your resume, you want to obviously work while you're in school or high school, just so you have something to work with on your resume, right? Then once you got the resume, you want to go to like your school career fairs. You want to network with people. You want to be on LinkedIn heavy, reaching out to people who might have a job that you want, right? So that you're just putting yourself out there more in a position to get the job that you want. If you go to college and have a good degree, but you're not applying yourself, then there's really no point in having that degree if no one knows you have it, if no one knows that you're looking for a job, or you're just applying to jobs on LinkedIn, right? You gotta actually kind of be in person. You gotta like network with people, talk to people, right? This is where, you know, being respectable, this is where being a sociable person comes into play. Because a lot of jobs, you know, you're dealing with people all the time, so no one wants to hire someone who's disrespectful or a mean person, right? So these are like the soft skills that you need to be successful in the long run, right? Obviously, there's a lot of like assholes or like people who aren't nice who become rich, but that's not the type of person you want to be, right, in the long term. Your relationships around you aren't going to be genuine. You know, people are going to like you for your money, but not for your personality or who you are as a person, right? So those are pretty much the basics, right? You want to go to school, get your degree right, get some work experience, and be a good person overall, right? Once you got all those set in stone, I have a little list here of like the top 5 things to do. Those are the first 2. Avoid debt and work jobs, right? So once you have the job, the main thing you want to do, this is the kicker, bro, because people get money and they spend it. That's not a path to wealth, right? That's just, you know, being impulsive. That's just spending the money because you have it. Maybe you're not used to having money, and I completely understand that. Like, we all come from different places. People, you know, want to help other people too much before helping themselves, right? So the first thing you want to do is take 10% of your paycheck and put it in a high yield savings account. And I don't mean that once you get paid, you send it. What I'm talking about is before your first paycheck even comes, you have a separate bank account that's giving you 4%, 5% interest, like SoFi or Ally Bank, right? High yield savings accounts. And you want to put in your routing number and your account number so that every time you get paid, the direct deposit, 10% of it goes automatically to your high yield savings account. It doesn't hit your normal checkings account with your debit card, right? So what this does, it instills good habits, good saving habits, because you don't even see that 10% that's supposed to be going to your checking account. Instead, it's going to a separate account that you're not spending, and it's just sitting there growing in itself, right? So the good thing about that is it's growing money at 5% interest. If you don't know, your checking account that you probably have that you spend all your money on with your debit card, you don't earn any money when it just sits there, right? But if you put it in a high yield savings account, they'll literally pay you free money to use their bank, and it's free. Like, you don't have to pay for the bank account. Like SoFi, the one I use, you don't have to pay for a bank account with them. You just set it up as your direct deposit, and you get 4% on every dollar that's in there every year. So that compound interest, if you keep it up, that's why I say don't send it off. You want it to be automatic. Once you start working at that company for 5-10 years, and then you look at your account, you'd be like, oh shit, I've been really, living on 90%, but now I got this stack of cash over here that's been earning and compounding. And then don't even get me started when you start working 20-30 years. You'll be so happy that you're young now, you're under 25, and you've been working for 20 years, now you're 45, how much money that really is at in the grand scheme of things, right? So I got that from the book, The Automatic Millionaire. It's one of my favorite books for investing in wealth creation, because it's so easy. People make it seem so hard. Like, people love spending money. If you have $5,000, that means I can spend $5,000. That's not true. If you make $5,000, you should really only be seeing 45 to 4,000 of it in your account. The other rack should just be automatically invested. You shouldn't even be worried about that, because that's what really builds wealth, right? So once you get that 10%, and of course you could fluctuate that number, 10% is really the bare minimum in my personal opinion. Some people will say 5, some people will say whatever numbers they got, but 10, 15%, don't even look at it, just go straight to your high yield savings accounts. And all of this being said, if you make $5,000 a month, your rent shouldn't be $3,000, right? Just because you have $5,000 coming in, you shouldn't, have more than 50% of your rental expense be your total monthly income, right? So you want to live below your means as much as possible. You don't want to go out to restaurants just because you got a couple bucks in your pocket. You don't want to keep spending money on gas just because you got a couple bucks in your pocket, or you want to go do whatever you want to do in the city, right? You got to stay at home, you got to cook, you got to grind, you got to educate yourself, and these habits will start compounding on itself and just become second nature. And these are really the people who become successful when it comes to making money and keeping money. So my fourth tip is to be selfish, but be respectful, right? By that, I mean, you'll have friends who want you to party, go out, drink, smoke, or even take trips that you can't necessarily afford, right? So when I say be selfish, right, there's a fine line to that. Of course, you should still have fun to an extent. I'm not saying that you should just hermit in your house all day, every day, but try to do like free stuff. Try to even change your friend group with people who have similar mindsets, who want to retire early, who want to get as much money at an early age as possible. You want to surround yourself with those type of people before you go broke, right? You don't want to go broke to have fun, or you don't want to go broke hanging out with people who are broke as well, right? So if you really want to be wealthy, you have to be around people who also think like they want to be wealthy as well, right? And you don't have to be mean about it, right? You could just tell them, you can be honest, like, hey man, I really want to go to Peru, I really want to go to Japan, I really want to do X, Y, Z, I really want to, I know we used to party all the time, but man, I'm trying to like get my shit together, And if they don't respect it, if they don't understand where you're coming from, there's nothing you can do about that, man. That's not a person that you really want. That's not a person that you need in your life, bro. So my fifth tip, it's a bit more holistic. It's less about the money side of things, but I mean, it can relate, right? But you want to stay healthy, right? This is my last and final tip. If you got all this money, but you're bedridden, or if you got all this money and you can't spend it because you're sick, of course, there's like genetics that play into it, hereditary diseases. I'm not talking about that, but you gotta just, get up and stay healthy so you can actually have some time to enjoy that money that you spent so much time generating, right? So along with the tips of automatically saving 10%, you should just have some sort of like routine in your schedule where you're working out, playing basketball, going for a run, or just lifting weights, right? If you can keep that up, it's statistically proven people who work out or just even go for walks for 1 hour a day live so much longer than people who don't. Even if people who work out 60 minutes a day live longer than people who work out 30 minutes a day, right? So every minute counts, right? So you don't want to be that person who's sitting at home all day, even if you're making money, right? Because you're gonna have nothing to do with that money if you're stuck at home, right? So take that time to do free activities. Spend it with some friends that you meet at the basketball court, right? You might go out for a non-alcoholic beverage right after, spend $10 or whatever at the bar. That's cool. There's no issue with that. But if you're buying alcohol or smoking weed every weekend and buying new shoes, buying new clothes, all this type of stuff all the time, that's gonna catch up to you, and you probably won't build generational wealth that way. And my last tip, I know this is kind of intertwined, but I'm 23, so I don't know what you guys think, but I know it's expensive to have kids, right? So as soon as you have kids, all this money that you've worked on building, the trips that you turn down, if you have kids, bro, those trips might not become a reality as soon as you want them to be, right? Because you got diapers to pay for, you got to pay for formula, you got to pay for daycare. People always forget about that one. Daycare is huge, right? These are just having a kid is expensive, bro. You might have to get a bigger place. You probably might have to move out, saying. So I personally wouldn't recommend having kids if you're young and you have a dream of being wealthy one day. Until you get wealthy, I wouldn't have kids. That's my personal opinion. I know some people value having kids, and I'm not knocking it, but I'm just saying, like, look at the numbers, bro. Like, if you got kids, that's a couple $1,000 a month, right? At least, just to fucking keep them alive, right? And healthy and strong. Because you don't want to raise kids that aren't in the best possible environment for themselves to be the best person they can be. Because you want your kids to do better than you, right? If you can't raise them right, I don't see the point of having them. That's me personally. You might disagree. I want kids even if I'm, struggling or whatever, blah, blah, blah. And that's cool. Do you? This is just my top five ways to get rich in 2024. It's so easy. And don't let blue collar turn you away. Don't let blue collar turn you off. I know a lot of guys in construction making money. I know a lot of electricians and plumbers and just technical people making a lot of money, man. So you got it. Breathe better. Wasim. Cook at home. Do your thing. All right, later.